welcome back to Sunshine in the Kitchen. Thanks so much for joining me today. Today I have something super delicious and finger-licking worthy on the menu. My famous baby back barbecue ribs. Well, I'm just going to get right into it and show you the ingredients that you will be needing. Well, these are the ribs that I have. They're the Farmer John. I got the pork loin baby back ribs. You could do short ribs. Short ribs are bigger. They have more meat on them. I've done the same recipe with all the same ingredients with the short ribs and they were amazing. I also really like the baby back ribs just because they're small and I don't know, I like both. They're both the same in my eyes, so you can do either or. This one was $15.50. I got it from Stater Brothers. I'm going to take it out the package and rinse it off and pat it dry and then we'll go from there. Alrighty, so I have my ribs here. I rinsed them off and I pat them dry with a napkin. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim off any of the extra fat that I don't need. Let's see, I am going to take this off with my paring knife. Just so I have something nice and even to work with. Take that extra fat off. Let's see, let's try and trim some of this off. You see that? That's just all fat that we really don't need. So now we have a nice rack to work with. Okay, let's flip this around. And here is, I wouldn't say challenging part, but it's a little bit difficult. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take off the membrane, and when I take off the membrane, that's going to allow these ribs to be really fall off the bone, just nice and flaky. If you like chewy ribs with a chewy texture, then you're going to leave the membrane right on, but I like them fall off the bone. So what I'm going to do here is, with a paring knife, I'm going to try and make an incision. And you know what, it's easier to get a napkin because they're a little bit slippery. So, I'm going to make an incision, and I'm going to get a napkin, and it's not going to happen all in one swoop, but it's okay, it's going to happen. And I don't know if you can see that it's starting to tear off. And let's just continue that. That's membrane right there. Let's see if we can get some from this side. Right underneath, and cut that off, and then we're going to get it with the napkin, and we're just going to pull off as much as we can. And then you're going to be able to kind of move your finger underneath just like this. And just kind of start to pull this side off. Just like so. And repeat the process. So we're getting it and pulling it right off. Alrighty, and I can feel it, and I can feel that all of that plasticky stuff is off of the ribs, so it's all right here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to cut my ribs up right now. Let's see. So you're just going to follow the bone. Right here I can feel the bone. Let's see. Yeah, I can feel the bone right here. So we're just going to cut that through. And there's one. now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add all of my little slices of ribs to a bowl. And I'm going to do it in kind of sections. I'm going to add some lemon juice, and the acid from the lemon, you're using it kind of like a tenderizer so it gets it nice and tender, and like we said, we want those fall off the bone ribs, and the lemon really helps it do that. And we're going to add the rest of the ribs and get all that lemon juice in there. Take out any seeds if you see them. And I'm just going to massage all that lemon juice right into the ribs. Make sure it's all nice and coated evenly. Taking out any seeds, like I said, if you see them. Alrighty, that looks pretty good to me. So I'm going to set this aside while I work on the dry rub. Alrighty, so what I have right here is a 1/2 cup of brown sugar, and I made sure that I really firmly packed down the brown sugar, so maybe a 1/2 cup and a little bit extra since I stuffed it so much. Now I'm going to be adding 1½ tablespoons of paprika and also 1½ tablespoons of chili powder. So we're just going to measure that right in. Oh, so there's 1 and a 1/2. And then we're going to do the same with the chili powder. So we're going to do 1 and a 1/2. Alrighty, so now we're going to do 2 teaspoons of dried oregano. And what I'm going to do is, I'm getting the oregano, but I like to kind of move it around in my hands to break up the oregano. So here's 1, and I'm just going to do just like this, same as you would if you were putting it in some menudo soup. And we're going to do 1 more, just like that. And we're also going to be doing 2 teaspoons of dried mustard. Grounded mustard just like this. So we're going to open that up. And it doesn't have to be the perfect measurements. And if you want to do more of a certain ingredient, like maybe a little more brown sugar because you like it more sweet, or less of the brown sugar, then you can do so. So there you go. We're also going to be adding 2 teaspoons of salt, but I'm just going to eyeball this. We're going to do 1 and 2. There's that. And I'm going to be doing 1½ teaspoons of garlic powder. So 1 and 2. We're also going to be adding in some fresh black pepper. About a teaspoon. And usually I would add in a teaspoon and a half of onion powder as well. However, I'm out. Leaving it out won't kill the recipe, but if you have it, I would suggest they use it because it definitely adds another round of flavors to this all. Alrighty, we're just going to mix around all those great flavors. Make sure you break up the brown sugar. Make sure everything is evenly incorporated. And you know what? I can tell just by smelling it that I want a little bit more brown sugar. I do like my ribs to be a little bit sweet and savory. I'm going to be adding about 1/8 of a cup or about 1/4 of a cup more of the brown sugar. And I'm just going to stir that in evenly. So now with clean hands, I'm just going to grab each rib and I'm going to coat the front side. And the reason why I like to cut all of my ribs into individual pieces because not only could you season the front half, but you can season the back and each sides and even the tips. So watch. So we're going to do this side. We're going to do that side. This side right here. And rub a little bit on the back. And dip each corner in. And now every little bit of this rib is coated in the seasoning. So it's going to add that much more flavor. When you put the ribs in whatever pan that you're going to use, you're going to put the meaty side down, leaving that bone side facing up. So I'll show you again. We're just going to do each side of the ribs. Make sure you get lots of coating on it. Be very generous with that. and put the meat side down, leaving the bone side up. And I'm just going to continue this process, so I'll get back to you when I'm all finished with this. And as you can see, I have a little bit left over of my seasoning. I've made these ribs a few times, and let's say instead of using 2 tablespoons of a certain ingredient, I used to use 1. And I found myself always having to wash my hands, bring out my ingredients again, and remeasure and make a brand new batch of the seasoning, because halfway through coating the ribs, I would be out of seasoning. And I would always have to do that, and it was really frustrating. So now I doubled or even tripled the recipe. So if I have some left over, I'd rather have that than have less than what I need and having to do it all over again. And you could even, with some of the seasoning, just rub it in, that much more flavor, and add it right on top. And you can already see that these ribs are absorbing all of the seasoning, and it smells phenomenal. Alrighty, well, I know that the lighting is not the best in here, but here's a little bit of a close-up. Let me see if I can put a phone light on it, if that will make it any better. They look and smell delicious. I honestly don't feel like the camera's doing it that justice, but they look great. So, as you can probably see, they're a little bit snug in here, but that's totally fine because they're going to shrink in the oven a little bit. Now it's time to wrap them in with some foil. Before you even prepped all the seasoning and everything, I forgot to mention that you're going to preheat your oven to 300 degrees, and you're going to want these in the middle rack of your oven. Alrighty, so now what we're going to do is you're going to get your piece of foil. So I don't know if you can tell on the camera, but there's 2 sides to every foil. I can see it better in person, but there's a shiny metallic side, and the other side is going to be more dull. It's kind of hard to see, I know, from your guys' angle, but trust me, in person you'll be able to tell that there's a shiny side and a dull side. So you're going to want the shiny side of your foil to be facing out, and you're just going to wrap these up. And this allows the ribs to cook a little bit slower. Makes them more tender, which is what we're going for. So you're gonna tightly wrap all the edges up, just like so. And like I said, shiny side sticking out. So we're gonna let these cook low and slow on the 300 preheated oven for about 2 to 2.5 hours. I'm gonna check on them around 2 hours and I'll eyeball it, but anywhere from 2 hours to 2.5 hours will be fine. And the only reason why we're cooking them so long is because, like I said, we're gonna really want them tender and to fall off the bone. Alrighty guys, I'll see you then. Alrighty, so it's been about 2 hours and 15 minutes. I'm gonna just take this foil off the ribs. They are sizzling. I don't know if you can tell. But what I'm going to do now is there's a little bit of liquid on the bottom of the pan. I'm going to carefully drain out the liquid. I'm just going to tilt it over the sink without dropping any of the ribs out. So I'll be right back. So now that I drained out all that liquid, what you're going to do now is you're going to set your oven to broil. And you're going to add your favorite barbecue sauce. Me and my family, we like to use this one. It's a Kraft Sweet and Honey barbecue sauce. So I'm just going to go ahead and give a generous amount on top. And with a little brush, I'm just going to brush that on. So now that they're all nice and sauced up, I'm going to put them in the oven for about 5 minutes on the broil. Then we're going to take them out, flip it to the other side, add barbecue sauce on the other side, put it back in the oven for about 3 to 5 minutes, and then they're done.